When GPT 5.6 Sol launched, it quickly became the go-to flagship for paid users tackling hard reasoning and coding tasks. The safe pick, the one you reach for without even thinking about it. Though for everyday ChatGPT chats, GPT 5.5 Instant stayed the default. But in 3 jobs you probably do every single week, Claude Fable 5 beats it outright. And almost nobody has gone back to retest it since Sol showed up. So here's the promise, by the end of this video you'll know exactly which 3 jobs to hand to Fable, backed by real benchmarks with every honest caveat flagged. And number 3 is the one with the widest margin. The gaps, the benchmarks, none of this you can argue with, so stick around for that one. My name is Mark and welcome to the AI Bureau. If claims that actually hold up under scrutiny are your thing, do us a favor, tap that like button and hit subscribe. Our research team spent its days pulling these launch claims apart so you don't have to take a press release at face value. And that matters here more than usual because a lot of numbers flying around about these 2 models come straight from the companies that built them. So I'm going to flag every caveat as we go. Where a stat is solid, I'll say so. And where it's shaky, I'll say that too. Now, here's why this matters even more than you think. Sol won because people formed a habit around it. They picked it, moved on, and never looked back. But Fable 5 sits above Anthropic's Opus line as their heaviest model. And on a handful of specific tasks, it pulls ahead. Not everything, 3 things. We're going weakest win first, strongest number last, and I'll save the least arguable one for the very end. So let's get into it. First job, long form and analytical writing. This is the low stakes one everybody can use. And honestly, it's the easiest to test yourself. Someone ran a blind head-to-head, 64 outputs total across 4 genres, mystery, fantasy, romance, and blog writing. Each genre was tested in 2 ways. One with a plain prompt and one with a detailed style profile fed in, which makes 8 matchups in total, and Fable finished ahead of Sol in all 8. Not 7, all 8. The edge also got wider the more detailed the prompt, with reviewers pointing to a better voice, better subtext, and tighter control when it's revised against its own drafts. It was also the preferred pick for dense analytical writing, the kind of long, structured piece where you need the argument to actually hold together. Now, here's the catch, and it's a real one. This is preference-based judging, humans and AI judges ranking which output they liked more. So that's directional rather than absolute. One specialist source, not a wall of independent labs. And Sol wasn't beaten everywhere. It actually scored better on things like consequences that stick and strict world rule consistency. So if your story needs airtight internal logic, Sol actually has genuine strengths. But for raw quality on the same, it's the same prompt for a richer output. That's the takeaway. Fable writes the better first draft. Second job, and this is the one that pays for the subscription. Complex documents and multimodal reasoning. Now, let me unpack that, let me translate a little bit, because multimodal just means it can read images, not only text. Charts, tables, diagrams, and the stuff buried inside a messy PDF. And Fable's upgraded vision reads that visual mess noticeably better. This is where it gets concrete for professionals, because on the heavier finance benchmark, a test that was built around senior analyst level document work, Fable posts the top score of any model. Picture the actual workflow. You'll drop in a 10K, a company's full annual filing, hundreds of pages of narrative and dense tables. Fable can run variance analysis, stress test the figures, and flag where the story contradicts the numbers in the tables. That's genuine. Deep analysis, and it was called out specifically for finance, legal, and analytics work. This is the absolute pro use case. But, and I'm not going to lie to you here, this chapter comes with the sharpest of caveats amongst all 3 of them. Harvey, a legal AI firm, found Fable's performance mixed on precise multi-step tax calculations and complex fund modeling. So it's strong at reading and structuring a document, but much shakier when you needed to grind through exact quantitative maths. And here's the bigger warning, it can still hallucinate authoritative sounding case law. Real-looking citations that don't actually exist. So for anything legal or financial, this is a co-pilot, not autopilot. Human in the loop every single time. And one more honesty note, there's no clean head-to-head percentage against Sol here. And Sol markets itself for the workplace tool integration and delivering finished results. So take this one as directional to not absolute. Fable is the preferred reader for dense documents, not a proven knockout on a single scoreboard. Now, before I get to number 3, the big one, a quick word. If breaking these releases down is useful to you, the AI Bureau newsletter is completely free and will show you exactly how to use a once-in-a-generation tech to its full potential. Just click the link in the description or scan the QR code that's on the screen. It's the fastest way to actually apply this stuff instead of watching videos about it. Okay, now back to it. Number 3, the strongest and least arguable win, repository scale coding. And this is where the gap stops being a matter of taste. The benchmark is called Software Engineering Bench Pro, SWE-Bench Pro. In plain terms, it takes a real bug from a real code base, hands it to the model, and checks whether it can actually fix it across the whole project. The entire project, which requires understanding how the files actually connect. Fable scores 80.3%, while Sol scores 64.6%. That is a 16-point gap. 16 points on the test that arguably matters the absolute most for serious engineering work. And here's the distinction that makes it make sense. Sol is genuinely better at isolated terminal commands, running one step at a time in the command line, but drop a whole repository in and ask it to trace how everything depends on everything else and refactor the lot? Not even close. Fable wins, and it uses a huge memory window to follow the important chains end to end without you chopping the code into pieces. It writes its own tests to check its work, and it uses upgraded vision to compare the code against the design spec and self-critique before handing it back. So important. Think of it less like an assistant typing code and more like an employee that plans the job, does it, and then actually reviews itself. Now, I promised every caveat would be flagged, and this is where I earn that. 3 of them. First, that 80.3% figure was produced using Anthropic's own testing setup. Not a neutral third-party harness, spoiler alert. Independent rechecks are expected, and one audit already flagged accuracy issues. Haha, pretty obvious. So treat it as strong, but company reported. Second, Sol's 64.6% isn't a number OpenAI officially published. It's widely cited by a third-party estimate. And I'd rather tell you than pretend it's gospel. Third, and this is the important one, flip to terminal bench. The test for step-by-step command line work, and Sol wins 91.9% versus Fable's 84.3%. But even that number has an asterisk, because Sol's top score comes from the heaviest ultra mode, running multiple sub-agents in parallel and burning a lot more tokens to get there, while standard Sol lands closer to 88%. So the honest line is this: Fable takes the repo-scale tasks, while Sol handles the terminal, and the winner depends entirely on the job. And that distinction is the whole point of this video, because here's what everyone keeps getting wrong. They keep asking which model is the best. What do you mean? Honestly, that's the wrong question. The real skill lies in routing each specific task to the tool that it's built for. So don't walk away thinking Fable is a straight Sol killer. It really isn't. Sol still dominates terminal automation. It's dramatically faster on certain setups, and the sticker price is significantly lower. Fable runs at $10 per million tokens going in and $50 coming out, while Sol runs at $5 and $30 respectively. That's double the input cost and about 2/3 more on output. a meaningful premium either way. And once you count how many tokens it actually takes to finish a real job, some studies push that gap closer to triple, because Sol gets to the answer with fewer words. So, the map is simple. Fable handles the writing, dense document analysis, and repo-scale refactors, while Sol is better suited for terminal automation and high-volume pipelines where cost is a factor. Think of this as building a routing system rather than declaring loyalty to a brand. Because people getting the most out of this match the task to the tool every single time. So let's bring it home. 3 jobs where Fable 5 beats the default. 1. Long form and analytical writing, which provides better first-time results, though this is preference judged and therefore is directional, not absolute. 2. Complex documents and multimodal reasoning, which hits the top of the finance benchmark for reading messy PDFs, provided a human checks the maths and citations, as always. And 3, repo-scale coding, where Fable posts 80.3% against Sol's 64.6%. And while that's company reported, a 16-point gap matters for real engineering. And the honest flip side is that terminal work, speed, and cost still belong to Sol. That flip side is the entire point of the argument. The tool follows the task, not the hype. So here's what I want to know in the comments. Of those 3 jobs, writing, documents, or repo-scale code, which one would actually change your workflow tomorrow? Or are you staying on Sol and routing nothing? I read every single comment, and if this saved you from defaulting on autopilot, show that like button some love and subscribe, because we break down how to actually use this technology every single week. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you again very, very soon. This is Mark, signing off.